Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. It's Sunday the 14th of September, halfway through September. Oh, that was a busy week, but I did achieve a lot, especially yesterday. Had about 6 or 8 people come over to my house yesterday. We had baskets and we had stuffing and we had cloths and we had donations and we built 40 gift baskets for the silent auction for the festival that's coming up, which was awesome. There will be a few more. The software that we're using only allows us to put 50 on the website for the online bidding, so it's a good target, but I think we'll have maybe 4 or 5 more by next weekend because there's a few last minute things coming in. But I am very happy with that. I made chili. I did it the cheating way. Rather than soak and cook my own beans, which is what I would normally do, I bought cans of red beans, white beans, black beans, and chickpeas. So there are 8 cans of beans in it. I have a really big cast iron pot. I have actually 3 cast iron pots, and I used my largest one, and it was so full, it kept like spilling over ever so slightly. 3 cans of tomatoes, half of a red onion, a couple of red peppers, a bunch of spices and herbs, and some TVP mince. So what with that and the guacamole and the salsa and the chips and the buns and the chocolate chip cookies, we did okay. And some people just came for a few hours, but our main committee chair, she and I were at the dining room table from 10 till about 5, and making sure that everything was typed into the spreadsheet correctly so that we can put it onto the online auction website that we use. Oh boy. So yeah, it hasn't been a very big making week, although I have made quite good progress on my crocheted new page shawl. So I'll be showing you that later. And I have finished the slow stitching on the piece that I was doing, and I need to trim it and back it and fold it into its shape that it needs to be in. And that is on my sewing table, ready to do. But first, I don't know about you, but if my brain is feeling really cluttered up, I like to unclutter my external environment as well. My living room was so messy yesterday. There were baskets piled up over there. There was a big bag of stuffing over there. There were donations over there. There were people working out on my deck filling 100 goodie bags. And when they left, I was like, okay, let's just get rid of all the recycling and tidy up a little bit. And now today I tackled my sewing room. So down here, so what I like to do is I just start at one place and work my way around. I started at the door because that's an obvious place. So I just checked this bookshelf was fine. Didn't have to do anything with that. But this box of interfacing down there, that was a heck of a mess. So I took everything out. I got a bigger box, and I put everything back in neatly except for the smaller scraps, which go in a separate bag. And I stuffed the small bag of scraps down behind my armchair over there. That's the place I hide things when I don't want you guys to see them. So I've got polyfill back there and batting. It's not bad or ugly or nasty or anything. It's just stuff that doesn't need to be out on display as long as I remember where I put it. That's the trouble with hiding things away. And then I worked my way across a little bit. I cleared this table off. I put my sewing machine on this side. I've put my serger over there for now. I partly tidied that side of the room, But then I got hung up on doing my buttons. So I'm going to turn you down a bit in a minute, and you're going to see my button collection, and I'm just sorting stuff out. The serger is currently on the floor. I've got 2 large garbage bags full of the fabric my friend gave me last week, which I need to deal with, because they need to go somewhere other than on the floor. But the cutting area is pretty clear, except for some denim scraps, and that desk is also pretty clear. So it's coming along nicely. It did help that I did a massive declutter when I was filling those auction baskets, because I included probably at least 30 of the things I made last year for the market that didn't sell. And so rather than just have them sitting around for another year, I put them in the auction. So I hope that helps to raise lots of money for our chosen charity. Yeah, it's a cooler day today. So happy. Still got overheated when we went out walking this morning, but it was mostly cloudy today. It's very windy this afternoon, and we're supposed to have rain, but I don't think we've actually had rain yet. I did go outside for a short while this afternoon because I have a market tent, which is just one of those metal frames with like a blue roof, and I'm lending it to someone for the festival. And I thought, okay, the last person to use my tent was my son when he went to the music festival. And I thought, I better check to see how dusty or dirty the canopy is. Yeah, it was really dusty. Really dusty. So I set the frame up halfway just to make sure all the bolts were fine and the frame was secure. And then I spread the canopy out on the lawn and hosed it down. And then I hung it on the washing line out in the backyard. And then it got really windy. And I was like, okay, I think it's dry. I better take it in now because it looks like it's about to take off. So yeah, it's all folded up and back in its bag. And I even put it in my car already. I know it's not for another week. It's not an... It's not... Think words, Nicola. It's a whole other... No. It's a whole week till the festival. Good grief, that was a struggle. But if I have my tent and the weights and my folding chair in there now, I know I won't forget them. All right, I'm just going to turn you down and maybe keep on chatting. Hold that thought. Now I'm trying something a little different in that I have the microphone attached to the ring light arm so that I'm not breathing on it or knocking it. So I pulled out a lot of my little drawers already. I've got my oranges, I've got my pinks, I've got my yellows, my whites, my purples. Let's see, how far out are you? To bear in mind it might shrink in a bit when I edit. I have my greens, my blues, and I have this little unit here which is probably intended for people with lots of nails and screws, but I'm using it for my buttons. And it's been bugging me for a while that my miscellaneous buttons have just been a disastrous mess. As you can see, I left these, which, you know, it was logical in a way to leave these on their cards, so I knew I didn't have to rummage through a whole ton of buttons to find 2 that matched. But you know what? I'm done with that. I am so done with that. So I am going to put them in there. They're purple. They're going in the purple box. Whatevs. Oh, that piece of wire went somewhere. Yeah, it feels so good to do some cleanup. It makes my head feel clearer. Even if I don't get around to actually doing any sewing today, I will feel like I've achieved a lot because I will have tidied my environment. Of course, I could be vacuuming all the cookie crumbs and everything up from yesterday, but no, this is much more fun. Oh, while we're here, let me show you what I bought myself. This is like my second birthday present to myself. Oh, I just noticed the tin is really dented right there. Oh well, I don't care. These are Derwent ink tints. They are watercolor ink pencils, and they're very, very intensely vibrant, and you can use them on watercolor paper, or you can use them on fabric. And I think there's other things you can use them to. And they have that lovely new pencil crayon smell. Oh, do you remember that when you used to get a new thing of pencils at school, and they just have that lovely smell to them? You can get these colors in a paint palette as well, but I wanted the pencil, so I felt like I would probably be able to control the color a bit. And when I saw Cool Cookie Creatures using these, when I saw Tori using these, she had one of these water dispensers, which helps you put the water where you want it. So once you've used the pencils, you add water to do a beautiful amount of blending. And when it's dry, it's permanent. And Tori did this lovely project the other day where she was drawing a pumpkin onto fabric. She colored it in with her pencils and added water for blending. And then she embroidered around the shape. And it was just so lovely. And I've wanted some of these for some time because my friend Annette has some as well. And she uses them in a beautiful way as well. And now I'm going to sneeze. So I'm really excited about trying these out. But again, I can wait. I can delay gratification on that a little bit because I am in the middle of my slow stitching project and my button clearing and my crochet. All right, I just need to check what you can see again. I've got my ironing pad set up here because my little cute iron, because I'm going to need that when I get back to my slow stitching project. I've got to iron the front because there's still some lines from the friction pen that need to be ironed off. And then what I'll need to do is use my folded out takeout container to draw around my slow stitching piece. Oh, why did I just put the orange into the blue? I can tell I wasn't paying attention there. That's just proof that multitasking isn't always as effective as you think it is, isn't it? Orange, not blue. There we go. Oh, I just noticed there's a lot of threads hanging off my ring light. Oh, the hazards of being a crafter. Oh, these ones are purple. So pretty. So I know that these buttons were on clearance because the fact they have the price snipped off the corners means that they were from Fabricland, and they were 3 cards for $1. So I would have bought those when I was at Fabricland. Lovely. I just love buttons. And you know what? I keep telling myself I need to come up with some projects to use buttons because I have so many. And I could just make something which has got so many buttons on that you can't even see anything behind it, just because it would look pretty. But I just don't know what yet. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes when you have a stash of something, you feel pressured by it. I think I feel like that sometimes with yarn, and that's why I occasionally do stash downs of the yarn, and I just put 5 strands together and crochet up something like a basket or a blanket. But I don't feel like that about the buttons. You know, the chances are is that I will find a use for some of it, and And if I don't use them all, which is highly unlikely I will use them all. Uh-oh, I just chipped that guy with my scissors. Oh, well, it's on the back. Then at some point, someone else will get to enjoy them. Mr. Stitches won't just toss it all away. He'll make sure it all goes to someone who will appreciate it if I die before he does. We have to think about these things, don't we? It's hard to think about that, but the fact is we're all dying. And it's a good idea to leave instructions if you care about what happens to your stuff once you pop your clogs. Of course, then we're into the possible topic of Swedish death cleaning, where some people will minimize what they have. They'll start getting rid of their stuff so that by the time they die, there's nothing left for the kids to deal with. And I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a really, really good idea. All right, that's an empty one. Where should we leave that one? This is another reason why I should not have the cards still attached to my buttons, because this drawer won't even come out. There we are. These silver ones are really pretty. I think they might be the same as the ones I put onto a knitted cardigan of mine once, and unfortunately, after being washed and then dried in the machine a number of times, they changed colour. So the silver started to turn a little gold coloured at the edges, which was odd. Not on all of the buttons, just on some of them. I know a lot of people have button collections from their mothers or their grandmothers, but my mum wasn't a sewer. I can't recall whether she even had a sewing box. She might have done, just for doing emergency mending. I think my sister has a sewing basket that might have been my aunt's. And then my sister isn't one who does a lot of sewing either. You know, every now and again you feel the need for a needle and thread, don't you? Even if you're not someone who uses one every day. Either that or you pay somebody else or beg somebody else to do your mending. Of course, then that brings up another whole topic of, do you mend things or do you just toss them and buy something new? Well, I will carry on with my sorting, and then I'll show you the finished neatness when I am done. It's amazing how much room you find when you tidy things up. This was absolutely packed full. Now I have 5 skinny drawers empty in one wide drawer and a whole bunch of dividers there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gradually put them back into the main black thing. I may have to have more than one container for some of the colours because they look a bit full. The brown ones I ended up putting into a large one. There's some cute ones in here. A rolling pin, a baseball glove, a snail, a couple of little teddy bears with hearts, a moose, and why not, cat. And a fawn. and a whole bunch of other ones that, you know, mostly look ugly. That can go in the bottom left. The green one, very glittery trees. Yeah, not sure what I'm going to be using those for. Some of them I'm not sure about the colour. I think this is green, but I'm not sure. It's a schoolhouse one. Came with a set of others. Massive lime green one. Very satisfying. Riffling through a thing of buttons, isn't it? Got a My Little Pony one there. This is a blood blister that hasn't gone away yet. It's not dirt or ink. It's healing. So yeah, a whole lot of interesting ones in there. Of all sizes. And this blue one is a big one too. Got a stalk button. That was part of a baby set. Got an A. I got a blue crayon pencil crayon. There's one that looks like a little chalkboard. Oh, that way up. Some flower shaped ones. Oh, and I think I've got 5 of these. These are ceramic, and they were on a card, but I've thrown them in there as well. They're rather pretty. They're handmade in South Africa, those ones, I think. I think I might have got those from the local yarn shop a long time ago. That one looks more purple, doesn't it? I'm thinking maybe it should be in the purples. Yeah, that one's been rehomed. Let's see, what next? We have 2 skinny yellow ones. Mostly just fairly standard round buttons. I found a rabbit and a chick with some smiley faces and a rather lovely leaf. But mostly, oh, there's another smiley face. It's got a bit of thread left on it. Oh well. So yeah, lots of yellow ones. So let's see, I'll put those up at the top. Pinks. Some dotty buttons. That ceramic one. A couple of paw ones. Some hearts. I rather like these. I like these because they've got large holes in them and you can use them in knitwear or crochet. And we can go next to the yellows. Oranges. Some really weird rectangular ones. Lots of different shades of orange. Some more dotty ones there. And flowery ones. A couple with an interesting black pattern on them. A flower. A sunflower. Something. I found this pumpkin one. I was quite excited about that, seeing it's like pumpkin season now. Oh, right. I was thinking, why is that metallic one in there? But it's got fabric on the other side. So yeah, those are all sorted now. Oh, it's full. Oh, it went in fine. Whites. Got a snowman shape. Got some hearts. Some rabbits. Oh, wait a second. That's a clear one. I've got a special thing for clear ones. Maybe I put... maybe I should go through this one properly. I didn't realise I'd put some clear ones into the white, and I've got a separate drawer for that now, so we'll just put that aside for a bit. Reds, not many reds. I don't know why that is. Got this massive maple leaf one, which I've had for ages. Some rather fun little tartan ones. An umbrella. A ladybug. Whoops. A ladybug with a single antenna. I'm not sure if it's supposed to have two. A little parcel. Got a couple of red birds like that. And some flowers. And some dotty ones. Oh, what's that then? Oh, and a leaf. Beautiful. This one is pretty full and pretty heavy, but this is all my metallic ones. So there's some silver, there's some pewter coloured, there's some gold coloured. Most of which I think are pretty tacky, but I'm hanging on to them anyway. You never know when they might come in useful. My greys, not a lot of greys. One from this one. This is absolutely adorable. Look how tiny that is. Could that be any tinier? I don't think so. So there's a teddy bear, and there's a couple of cats. And yeah, not a lot of other excitement in there. Black, got a skunk. Couple of these, which I wasn't sure of the colour. Again, they're very dark. They might be a really, really dark green. It's hard to tell. When I put them in the black, they seemed to fit, but now I'm thinking they should have gone in the green. Maybe I'm going to move them. There we go. This is a Fimo one I made a long, long time ago. And there's another one. Fimo or Sculpey. I don't know if I'll ever use those. That one's super chunky. Look at the thickness of that one. Insane. So that's those. I think the purple ones are going to go into this large one because they are numerous. So lots of lovely purples in there. That one almost looks like a pink, doesn't it? Hang on a minute. Yeah, it fits better in the pink. I quite like these two-tone ones. There's some bigger ones as well. Butterfly. This one's got a really cool centre to it. Looks like a flower. Oh, and these are lovely too. I've got quite a few of these. It's hard to see the pattern because it's almost like a self pattern. Yes, very lovely. Oh, and these. I've got some of these too. These are lovely. Oh, these are some of my favourites too. You have to hold them at just the right angle to see the colour in them. I've got some other ones like that. So this drawer just has little wooden snowflakes that were cheap and nasty. I think I got a big bag of these from Amazon to tie a quilt, a Christmas quilt. Got tons left, so I will eventually find a use for those. This is non-buttons. There's a couple of snap sets in there and also a couple of these things that go together as a fastener of some kind, and some jeans buttons. So I'm keeping them in there because at least that way I'll know where they are. Wooden ones. These I harvested off a quilt that I decided I didn't like anymore. It's been on my living room wall for ages and I replaced it with something way more fun. So I've got heart-shaped ones and leaf-shaped ones, and then a friend of mine gave me a ton of these butterflies. And also another friend gave me some of these trees, which aren't really buttons, but they do have holes in here, which I managed to fit a needle through when I was making my first my second takeout container scrap project. Empty. Let's see. So I need to go through this again, see if there's any clear ones in here. Also take these off their bit of fabric. And then I've got a miscellaneous one here, which is a whole bunch of other buttons. Again, those guys were given to me by a friend. The snowmen, I've got a little group of those from Fabricland. There's a little star with a face on it. There's another star with a face on it. Ooh, I'm going to lose them. And what's this guy? Oh, a roller skate. Not sure why I have a roller skate. Oh yeah, and I have a couple of llamas as well. Trying to get it to focus. So that's that. So I'll finish with my buttons, and then when I get back to you, I'll be working on the slow stitching. A blissfully cooler day to go out walking. And this is one of the very few places in our area where you will see blackberries growing. I don't know why it is there's so few around here, but I'm assuming it's because it's so hot and dry here in the summer. Blackberries prefer British weather, I think. We're doing these steps downwards today, which is still quite challenging on the legs. Taking my time. But look at all of these brambles. Wow. Rain is in the forecast. I am so pleased about that. I'm surprised these aren't black, because it's September now. We're well into September. Yeah, I'd have expected the blackberries to be actually black by now. Looks like there are some black ones up there. Of course, they're out of reach, and I nearly fell in a ditch then. But they're very small and very hard looking. But then it's probably because we haven't had rain in so long. Imagine living with that view every day. That would be nice. Very diffuse sunlight today, coming through the clouds and possibly also smoke. I'm not sure. It doesn't smell smoky, but there's a lot of haze in the valley. I love seeing the patterns on the water's surface when the wind blows over it. Looks like it's been a good year for grapes. A lot of the vineyards affected by the die-off from a couple of years ago have replanted. It's all looking a lot healthier around here now. And as for this monster of a building, it's been sitting unfinished for years now. We're assuming it's supposed to be a winery and the money ran out. And these trucks and trailers are parked at a local winery and have been for about a week now. I'm assuming they are filming a movie. The microphone is back where it usually goes because having it further away from my face didn't really work that well. On those last couple of segments, I had to turn the volume up by about 20% just so that you could hear me properly. Okay, here we go. the slow stitching part. Right, I'll just bring this up closer so that you can see some of the stitches I've done. We've got lazy daisy flowers, we've got running stitch, we've got, is that feather stitch? I don't know. More flowers, some little bits of blanket stitch and French knots, some snowflakes, a little bit of wheat ear stitch in that turquoise there, chain stitch, some cross stitches, some stars, some snowflakes which I just did triangles over the print of the fabric, a couple of leaves, little bit of fun right there. And another little bit of fun right there. So it's covered. And it's way bigger than it needs to be. Well, not way bigger. Where's my template? Here's my template. Here's my unfolded bulk barn template, which used to be a takeout container, and now I'm using it to make my own fabric takeout container. So yeah, it didn't shrink when I was doing my stitching. It looks the same size. Still got about 1/2 inch or 1.5 centimeters all around of excess thing. And you will probably see that my stitches stick out further. If you can see that, the stitches do actually go beyond that, which is why I am planning on doing a short machine stitch around my cutting line before I cut. I found this light green linen look. It's called linen look, I think, or something like that, but it's just obviously printed quilt cotton for my lining. So I'm going to use this chalk. I've got some raspberry pink chalk in this chalk pencil. Oh, that came out too far. And I'm going to draw around my template, and I have to make sure I get it right, because if I remember correctly, I was going to make sure I put it a certain way. So these, hang on, these two snowflakes and these lines were the first ones I did. And I've got some nice flowers here and here, which I wanted to make sure were included in the most visible spots. So what I have to do then is make sure it's this way around. This is going to be the closing flap, and these two flaps are going to be tucked inside, so not going to be as obvious. Let's try and line things up a little bit with the pattern on the fabric. I hope this brushes off easily afterwards. Now I'm not going to go into the groove of the cardboard there, because it's not going to hook together like the paper version did. In fact, I'm going to leave that corner undrawn for a minute. So I think what I'm going to need to do is, when I do my stitching line, it'll have to be on the outside edge of my thick chalk line, and my cutting line will be on the inside edge of the thick chalk line. Okay, so this goes here, and then there's this weird sort of shape which isn't really necessary, because I just need the corners to match really, so I can put ties on this side and the opposite side. So I'm just thinking about this think we're going to pretend that this goes straight like that. And let's see. Actually, all three other corners are just straight across like that. So really, this one should do the same. So you probably won't be able to see it, or maybe you might see it from this side. Let's just make sure I followed all my lines. I didn't miss any bits. Okay, I think we're okay. So I used a stitch that was only 1.5 millimeters. I'm really hoping that it will pin down the ends of my threads sufficiently. And also, when I have put the backing on, I will do a stitch over the edge too. Hopefully you'll still be able to see my green batting, because that's why I put green batting in, so that it was visible and looked good. So I think I might have mixed up my two inner and outers last time. I may have said it the wrong way around. So what I am doing is I am sewing on the inner edge of my chalk line and cutting on my outer edge of my chalk line. I may have said it the other way around earlier, because I am silly like that sometimes. I'm going to go fairly close to the line. So I had an email today from Janine of Uppercase Magazine. Oh, I had quite the fangirl moment then. So a couple of episodes ago, I raved about halfway through the video. Raved, and I don't want to do it from that way. I can't see the line well enough. See where my blade is going. Okay. So I raved about Uppercase Magazine and the fact that I had subscribed to it because I think it's the best magazine on the planet. And I replied to one of her newsletter emails and I said, you probably don't have time to watch my video, but at 37 minutes in this video, and I gave her the link, I was talking about your magazine because I love it so much. And she got back to me today. I was very excited. She watched it, and not only did she watch it, she said she was also going to share it to the inner circle of Uppercase subscribers. And I said, oh, I was hoping there was something like that where I could join and talk to other people who subscribe to the magazine, because I wanted to talk to somebody about it, and it's people who would understand my absolute passion for this magazine. And apparently there is something called the Uppercase Circle, and print subscribers can get access to it. So I have sent my application in. So I'm very excited about that too. Obviously you have to get approved. They're not just going to take your word for it that you're a subscriber when you fill out the form. But I have been, as I've said I was going to do, I have been slowly working my way through the magazine, trying not to read it too fast, because I wanted to really enjoy it and savor it. And I got to a piece about yarn bombing, which was a joy because I love yarn bombing. Adding yarny things to public places is so fun, done right, obviously. And that was awesome. And in there was a person who does embroideries, which they staple to telephone poles. And one of the quotes was from Andrea Gibson, And I don't know, I've probably mentioned Andrea Gibson on this channel before, but I used to follow her or them, I should say them. They call themselves they. So I used to follow them on Instagram all the time. And I am an absolute heathen when it comes to poetry. I usually don't appreciate it, don't particularly enjoy it, don't go out of my way to listen to it or whatever. But Andrea's poetry was so moving. And Andrea was dealing with ovarian cancer for years and had an amazing, amazing attitude towards it. And this telephone pole yarn bombing type thing was a quote from Andrea, and I was just so chuffed to see that in the magazine. And the other thing I saw was a segment about what was it? Jewelry. Really unusual jewelry. This magazine is so inspiring. I tell you just want to try everything, every craft under the sun when you see what people are doing with all sorts of mediums. Anyway, I know this guy I don't know him. I know of this guy called Chris English. And if you watch Kate at the Last Homely House, you will have heard of Chris English too, because Kate has made friends with Chris and had him over to her house, and they have sewn together. And Chris has just a really wacky, unique way of making quilts that are so different from what we've all seen before. And he really challenges the notion of what a quilt is. And he also makes jewelry, and one of his pieces of jewelry was pictured in the magazine. And I just thought, oh, two names in that one magazine, which I recognise. That has to be quite unusual, because I don't usually know anyone who is an artist and who is actually like a known artist. All right. Let's hope that holds together. So now that that's cut out, this ironing surface is a little bit in my way, but I can't move my lamp any further over to the left. And I can't move this any further over to the right because the upright of the lamp is in the way. While I was ironing the lining, I remembered that I hadn't ironed the top and got rid of my friction pen lines, so that is now done. Hopefully these pink chalk lines will rub off. Hoping so, they're quite dark. I spray basted these guys together, and now I'm just going to trim the lining around. I'm not throwing away my scraps yet. Becoming a bit more conscious of which pieces I throw out now. Because once you start working with scraps, you realize how endlessly you could make things just out of your scrap bag, as long as you're not too careless with what you throw out. I've got to show you this. Hold on a minute. So this is a jar full of the ends that I cut off from my sweater in the last video. And I thought maybe if I keep these tails, I could try needle felting them onto something, maybe needle felt them onto one of my pretty pieces of dyed batting. I've never done needle felting before because I always thought it just had to be done with wool. But Tori at Cool Kooky Creatures, who again I mentioned because she is such an inspiration, she was needle felting a while back, and she was doing, I think it was acrylic yarn onto organza or something crazy like that. I don't mean it was crazy. I'm not calling her crazy. I'm calling her amazingly inventive and inspirational. So, unfortunately, the one time I actually remembered when I was at work to go and look to see if any of the needle felting tools were in stock, they weren't. So if I remember when I'm at work this week, I will have to pick one up. If you shop at Michael's, sales are really good at the moment. It's what they call lowest price of the season, and the sales normally start on a Friday and run to the Thursday. So I'm not sure when you're going to see this, but yeah, check your Michael's because there might be a good sale on right now. I think yarn is on again at 30%. Now that we're talking about yarn, oh, did you like that segue? One of the people in one of the groups I'm in on Ravelry has suggested a sock make along. Now, I'm not really a sock knitter. I have crocheted slippers in my time. I have knitted socks that were DK weight and that were kind of cotton with elastic. That was when Elan.com was around, and they did this really nice stretchy cotton, and it made quite good socks. So I thought that if I wanted to join in with a sock make along, I could make something with thicker yarn than sock yarn, because I don't think I've got the patience to knit socks with sock yarn. And I happened to find a pattern in my Ravelry queue which was just begging to be made. And I will link it in the description under the video. It's called, let me see if I can remember what it's called. I think it's called Snowfall Socks. It's by Dora Explored, which is Michelle. She's Dora Explored, or Dora Does. And I've made a few of her patterns now. And these socks are kind of slipper socks because they're going to be fairly thick and I wouldn't wear them in shoes. But they use DK yarn and they come up to like a crew length on the ankle, and they have white bobbles around the ankles to look like snow. And I just think, yep, if I'm going to make socks this fall to join in with this make along, that's what I need to make. Now, I can't remember how I figured out the folding last time, but that doesn't matter because I can't really do it yet. I need to do my stitching all around the edge. So I'm going to leave it here for tonight because it's not that late, but I'm feeling a little tired and I don't want to mess anything up. So I'm going to leave this here along with my threads ready for doing my blanket stitch all the way around the edge, and then we'll do the folding. Even though there are things I could probably be doing instead of stitching this Monday morning, this was calling to me and I wanted to work on it. I'm not going to be doing it through the camera for long because I want to hold it closer to my face so I can see what I'm doing better. One of my little tails pulled out from the machine stitching that I did last night, which is disappointing. Very disappointing. I have to remember not to push my needle up this way. I have to push it down and up. Otherwise it won't catch that lining fabric properly. I am attempting to get all my stitches about the same length. Not always very good at keeping consistent stitches. Oh, and this thing keeps getting annoyingly caught up as well. There you see, look, narrow, wide. Ugh. Look at that. Well, it is handmade, right? I think I've said this before. If it's handmade, it's okay for it to look handmade. Within reason. The blanket stitch is done. That felt like it took forever. And it took about 6 lengths of thread. So I'm glad that's done because I was getting a bit fed up with it. Me and my impatience, eh? So when I lay this over here, I can see where my folds are supposed to be, and I put a pin along where my fabric should be folded just to get me started. This is my top corner. I'm trying to keep that organized so I don't fold it the wrong way. It's not a square base, it's actually slightly rectangular, so hopefully I won't mix it up. So we've got the ironing pad here, and my itty bitty iron is heating up. Just going to give myself a little guideline there. The lining is going to be a bit baggy, I think, because I cut the lining out by laying this on top of it and cut around it. It's going to be a fraction bigger. Probably should have trimmed like 1/8 of an inch off or something before I sewed it on. Anyway, let's do this. So this is why I bought myself glass-headed pins, because I knew that if ever I was ironing and there was a pin in the way, I wouldn't melt it. Just going to give it a little bit of a press. Now, from here, it should, I think, be pressed at a bit of an angle. Oh, I can do all of my pressing, my folds, all in one go, can't I? Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, I think you can. And then we push that out there, and then we give that a little bit of a press. It's not perfect, but it'll give me a start, somewhere to start with. And then do that side. And then just angle it out a little. Now, I haven't actually figured out what I'm going to use to hold this together. In my previous ones, I used buttons or something similar to a button. We won't worry about the fact this is looking a little crumpled now. But the fact that I reviewed my entire button collection yesterday means that I should have a good idea of what I've got, and I can go to something that'll work. All right. So here's my rectangle in the middle. So this comes up and this comes up. This comes up like this. And this comes up like this. Now what I will do, I think, is grab my clips. I have all these containers of things, sewing accessories, and they all look the same. Can't always find things in a hurry. Okay. So I know that these two corners here are going to be eventually tied together with some sort of decorative tie. So this one comes up like this. I match my little notched bits where there's like a V shape in the edge, like so. And then these corners come together at an angle. Let's take the pin out because it's getting annoying. There we are. So I can clip those together. And then on the other side, I'll do the same. So match up my V's. So my side looks like that, and then fold the corners in like that. Let's get rid of the pins because everything's going to land where it should eventually without pins. And so you can see we have a little takeout container shaped thing. So I need to work out what is going to hold these layers together. And I think what I did on my last ones is also went through these layers of fabric and also through this layer and anchored it all the way through on both sides. And that's all it needs to hold it together, because when these are joined, this comes inside, these parts come over and tie together. We are on the final step. I'm just eyeballing this part based on what I've done before. I'm going to go through here with a double strand of crochet cotton, and I'm going to hold my layers together. It's kind of tricky. Just stab right through as centrally as I can. There will be a little stitch visible on the inside, but that's why I've decided to use the green thread for this and not the burgundy stuff. So now you'll see what I meant when I said that some of my stitching was going to get covered up, which is why I wanted to make sure that I had a plan for what was going to go where. All right, these are the buttons I decided on, the wooden hearts. Oops, hit the left hole. I could use thimble, couldn't I, if I knew where I put it? Yeah, I think that looks pretty. So now I just want to come out. Actually, you know what? I don't think I need to go back that way. I can just fasten it off in here and then hide my knot. No, I'm going to do it the other way. Okay, we're going to go back through. That's what I'll do. I'm going to go back through in between these lining layers here so that it looks nice and tidy on the back, and then I will just do a little bit of a fastening off thing here. Actually, that wasn't quite the last step, was it? Because I still need to decide what to tie it closed with. Whew, well, I'm happy that that is now finished. It's looking a little, I don't know, different from my other ones, maybe? I don't know. I just went and had a look at them, and it's not a lot different, but because this is mostly made by hand, except for that tiny bit of machine stitching, it does have a different feel to it. It feels a bit squishier and a little bit softer, but I think it's pretty. I just ripped some of the batik fabric to make a tie for it, and of course now it's fraying everywhere, which is part of its charm, but now I want to be snipping at it. Yeah, so I've got the heart buttons on each side, and I can't decide which is the front and which is the back, but I do like these coloured flowers here. So yeah, some of the pretty stitching does get covered up, but that's unavoidable. I stuffed it with a little bit of my purpley batting just to fill it out a bit. I think that would make a nice little gift bag, don't you? So that's another slow stitching project done. I didn't even end up rubbing off the pink chalk in the end. I can still see it a little bit. But you know what? It kind of blends in with all the colours. Yeah, all done. So with that being finished, the only other thing I wanted to show you in this vlog was the crochet, because it has grown quite a bit since last time. And I'm quite enjoying the colours. It is a little crazy because there are 5 different balls of loops and threads. Now I can't remember what I've shown you in this video and what I showed you in the last video, but I have the 5 balls of loops and threads impeccable multi for my contrasts. So as you can imagine, there is a lot, all right, patterns crackling in my bag. There's a lot of colours. And I have put them with this white loops and threads color craft. Being an American company, of course, color is spelled O-R, not O-U-R. So let's just stuff that back in my Yarndale bag quickly, because otherwise it's going to be too messy. I finally remembered to put a stitch marker into my live loop so I didn't unravel myself. So this is how big it is, and now you work from this tiny corner, and as it grows you're doing 2 rows of colour, 2 rows of white, 2 rows of colour, 2 rows of white. And as long as you remember that on the first row of your new colour you're doing the spike stitches, because that then crosses over the other colour of the row below, so that's easy to remember. So when you're doing your first row of colour, your spike stitches go over the white. When you do your first row of white, the spike stitches go over the colour, so that's easy to remember. And then on the other rows where you're not doing spike stitches, you're doing an increase on this side. You're increasing 2 stitches on this edge. And of course, because of the changing in colour, You're ending up with lots of ends, except for the white, which I'm carrying up the side, of course. So even though this is a crazy mishmash of colour, or maybe because it is a crazy mishmash of colour, I'm actually quite liking it. I think you could probably get away with just using one of those contrast multis with the white if you wanted to control it a little bit, or just follow the pattern, which was very pretty indeed. And I didn't end up going with that because it would have required so many balls of yarn that weren't available locally. It's the new Page shawl, and I think it's Brianna K Designs. I will link underneath as always. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm trying to think what's going to be in the next vlog. Obviously there'll be crochet. Do I have any other whips? Oh, I don't think I do. But I know I'm going to find something to make and to do, because I always do. So I'll see you again next time for something fun. Bye for now.